The movie starts with a large crowd of people standing in line in front of a butcher shop, which is supposed to sell a very unusual kind of meat that no one has ever tasted before. People are willing to pay any amount of money just to get a taste because of its unique flavor. Day after day, week after week, the crowd doesn't get smaller, it keeps growing, to the point that even police officers and politicians become regular customers. One day, a curious female customer asks the question everyone's been wondering. What kind of animal is this meat from? The butcher is surprised and tells her it's pork, specially imported from Iran. From that moment, the news spreads throughout the neighborhood like wildfire, and the butcher shop becomes busier than ever. Other butchers, who barely had any customers before, now become more famous than ever. Big meat factories are forced to halt production because of this new Iranian meat. We then see how this butcher shop turns almost viral, run by two dominant butchers, Vincent and Sophie, who are also married. The shop is located in the suburbs of Paris. At first, the couple's life seems calm and easy, but things are actually very different. Hardly any customers come to the shop, and even those who do are disgusted by Vincent's strange way of massaging the meat. One day, a group of extreme vegan activists, wearing masks, breaks into the shop. They throw blood on the butchers and destroy the place. Vincent gets angry, chases one of them, and pins him to the ground. At first, the attacker resists, but Vincent manages to remove the mask from his face. The vegan's friends rush in, rescue him, hit Vincent, and then escape. Later that day, the four friends visit Stephanie and Mark for lunch. In the kitchen, Sophie tells Stephanie that the bank refused to give them a loan and that they might declare bankruptcy soon. At first, Stephanie tries to encourage her friend, but soon starts boasting about her husband, who earns a lot of money. It turns out Stephanie and Mark also own a successful butcher shop, much to Sophie's envy. Soon, the four of them are eating together. Vincent talks about the vandalism incident at his shop. At first, Mark laughs at him for not having any security measures, but then he brings a gun and gives it to Vincent, telling him it's for protecting his shop from any threats. In reality, Vincent doesn't have a gun license, but he accepts the gift anyway. On the way home, Sophie tells Vincent she was thinking about divorcing him because their marriage has become boring, but Vincent completely ignores her. Suddenly, he sees one of the vegans who destroyed his shop last time, and he decides to teach him a lesson. He reverses his car to corner the guy and knock him down, but loses control of the car and ends up running him over, killing him. Vincent panics and calls the police to confess and turn himself in, claiming it was an accident. Sophie stops him, saying, "You're an idiot! Don't you know you could go to prison for years?" Sophie then suggests a smarter plan. They act like a serial killer named Michel Francois, who disposes of his victims in black bags throughout the city. Vincent realizes his wife has been watching a lot of serial killer movies and gets scared for himself. That night, he puts the body in the shop and starts cutting it. After hours, it gets too late, so he decides to leave it and deal with it in the morning. The next day, he wakes up late and the body is gone. While searching, he almost loses his mind. Madame Conyard, a regular customer, comes in and says she loved the meat Sophie sold her in the morning so much that she came back for more. It turns out Sophie accidentally sold her the human meat, thinking it was pork. Vincent tries to convince her to buy a different type, but she insists on the same meat. Vincent is confused, and Sophie is curious to try the meat herself. Vincent can't reveal the truth, so he cuts her a piece of human meat. Surprisingly, Sophie loves it. Madame Conyard can't wait for more, so Vincent spins a story, saying he imports the meat from Iran, which makes it rare and delicious. He sells a large amount to her. Once she leaves, he tells Sophie the truth. Even stranger, Sophie doesn't mind eating human meat. She even suggests they sell it as a way to get rid of bodies. Vincent is terrified but prepares to get rid of the meat quickly. Meanwhile, another customer comes in asking for the same meat. Over time, this Iranian meat, which is actually human, creates a huge stir in the neighborhood, and the couple earns a fortune. Vincent grows more curious, especially with the rising popularity of this unusual meat. One night, he takes a piece home to try it, and is shocked at how much he enjoys it. Sophie tells him, "Those vegans? Their blood is clean and that's what makes their meat taste so good." She then comes up with a crazy idea. Why not hunt the vegans who ruin their lives and profit from their meat? Vincent dismisses it, saying it's a ridiculous idea and not ethical. Before going to sleep, he tells her to stop watching serial killer shows. The next day, their daughter Lloyd brings her boyfriend Lucas over for lunch. The family prepares a special slice of meat, but he refuses to eat it, saying he's vegan. Lloyd supports him. After the vegans leave, Vincent and Sophie realize all their family meal preparations were ruined because of them. Vincent decides to follow Sophie's plan and target the vegans. They also consider involving their daughter's boyfriend. That night, they go to a vegan restaurant and pick the clumsy owner as their first target. Vincent follows him until he manages to sneak into his room, but the first attempt fails. Sophie realizes they need more practice. The next day, they start a new plan, pretending to be vegans and protesting outside a supermarket to find an easy target. Eventually, a well-dressed man approaches, praising them. Sophie convinces him to meet at the parking lot to discuss vegan targets. Following the plan, the couple arrives early and practices different methods to kill their target. A little while later, the vegan man arrives in a big car, but Vincent and Sophie get frustrated when they see he brought two of his friends along too, so they're forced to cancel their plan. The surprise is that the vegans tell them they're planning to steal from a butcher shop and ask them to come along. Of course, Vincent and Sophie are scared of getting caught, so they reluctantly agree. Throughout the way, they keep making up stories about themselves, claiming they own a flower shop. When they arrive, they're shocked to find out the shop belongs to their friends, Mark and Stephanie. Sophie starts to hesitate, but Vincent sees this as his chance because he's jealous of his wealthy friends. He goes all out smashing the shop with the vegans with full enthusiasm. In the next scene, the couple is sitting in a restaurant having dinner, discussing how they could watch their victims without raising suspicion. They disagree, argue, and even get into a little fight. In the end, Vincent storms off in anger, while Sophie stays seated alone. The waiter takes advantage of the moment, and tells her he's interested in her. Sophie senses they have something in common. Eventually, the waiter takes her on his motorcycle. When they reach Sophie's house, things escalate, and when Sophie realizes the man is vegan, she cleverly bites his tongue on purpose. She tells him to come in so she can treat his wound, but unfortunately it goes wrong when he enters the bathroom. Sophie goes to Vincent and tells him she brought him a catch. Of course, Vincent is nervous and refuses, but Sophie keeps provoking him, threatening that she'll cheat on him with the waiter if he doesn't kill the man. Hearing this, Vincent's blood boils, and he grabs the knife, but at the last moment, he pulls back and agrees to let the man go. However, Sophie has other plans. She deliberately gets close to the man and eventually pushes Vincent to attack him until he's dead. The next day, Sophie gets a call from her friend Stephanie, telling her about the acts of vandalism at their shop the night before. They go straight to the scene, appearing worried. There, they see Mark talking to a police officer, who turns out to be the same officer investigating the vandalism at Vincent's shop. The officer asks to speak to Vincent alone. Vincent panics and can't speak, but it turns out the officer has also heard about the Iranian pork that's been circulating in the area and wants to buy some. Vincent sees an opportunity to make more money and tells the officer, "Of course, anytime, sir, you're welcome." That same day, they return to their shop and start selling human meat again. People line up to buy the new meat, and it sells out within an hour. The couple decides to make hunting vegans a normal thing, preparing stronger weapons and starting a daily killing spree. By the end of the week, they raise the price of the meat and earn amounts they never dreamed of. One day, while having lunch with friends, they serve them meat from the fake Iranian pork, which Stephanie and Mark immediately love. Suddenly, Marco bites down on something metallic in the meat. Stephanie, who works as a nurse, recognizes it as a pacemaker. One of Vincent's victims had a pacemaker implanted. They try to cover it up, but the discussion escalates into a fight. Vincent bites Mark in front of everyone, chews part of him as a threat, and then leaves with Sophie, leaving the others terrified. Vincent and Sophie continue killing humans and making huge profits. Sophie abandons the divorce plan, and they become happy together. One day, they go to a vegan festival, and Vincent spots a small boy. He can't resist thinking about killing the child and taking his meat, showing that Vincent has become mentally unwell. But after feeling disgusted with himself, he decides to leave. They meet their daughter, Lloyd, and her vegan boyfriend, Lucas, who are surprised to see them at the vegan gathering. Lucas tells them that many vegans have gone missing recently, and is sure the butchers are responsible. Vincent tries to deny it, but Lucas loses his temper and yells at them, then leaves the festival. One of the vegans who had accompanied Vincent and Sophie to Mark's shop overhears them, and is shocked to discover that they are actually butchers. Later, Sophie sets her eyes on a wealthy woman and asks Vincent to kill her. Unfortunately, Vincent's desire to kill people returns. After completing their mission, they return home at night. Vincent is cutting the woman when suddenly someone knocks at the door. It's the police officer. Vincent opens the door nervously, and they talk briefly. The officer says that 10 vegans have disappeared, and now the butchers are suspects. Suddenly, the dog runs out from behind the officer carrying a human hand. Vincent is terrified but quickly shouts at the dog to leave. The officer is surprised by Vincent's reaction, but Vincent explains that he's suffering from PTSD after the last vegan attack. The officer leaves, and Vincent sits down with Sophie, telling her about his fears. She reassures him that they will never be caught because they've already disposed of all the bodies, and there's no evidence. It turns out Vincent got rid of all the victims' meat either by selling it or placing it in black bags and distributing them throughout the city. They had to do this because social media awareness increased, and missing person searches became more active. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and Lucas shows up to apologize for his behavior at the vegan festival. He explains that he had been nervous since his vegan friends started disappearing. Sophie comforts him, while hinting to Vincent that Lucas could be their next victim, but Vincent refuses and sends him away immediately. The next day, Vincent announces to his customers that he will no longer sell Iranian pork, which upsets everyone. The two argue, and eventually Vincent leaves the shop, walking away with his dog. Meanwhile, the group of vegans who destroyed Mark's shop come to Vincent's shop to take revenge. Sophie tries to drive them off but fails. The vegans tie her up and beat her. When Vincent returns and sees what happened, he attacks them with his dog, killing 2 of them. However, one vegan stabs Vincent in the shoulder. Sophie intervenes at the right moment and finishes him off. The film ends with the couple being arrested and charged with 30 counts of murder. It turns out that Mark and Stephanie had informed the police about Vincent's suspicious behavior. In the end, Vincent and Sophie are sentenced to death, which is the least they deserve. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.